It feels a little funny. This is the first time I have taken advantage of this recording feature in Substack. And it's Christmas morning where I live. It's 6:23 a.m. and I've been up for at least an hour. And I was sitting here thinking I would really like to find new ways to connect with my audience here in Substack. I really enjoy the platform. I've enjoyed very much writing articles, and I find that since I switched over from the topic of raw vegan nutrition, to an extension of my healthy voice platform, I find I am inspired to write at least 3 articles a week. And I love it. It's been very exciting. And I was thinking I would love to have something else that I can do here. And so I thought, well, I'm talking about the voice in my writing. What if I actually used my voice in a recording? And it seemed like a nice personal way to connect. And in our circle community, the Healthy Voice community, we do something on Tuesdays where everyone is encouraged to leave a voice memo in the discussion feed. And it's been really nice. We've done it twice now. And there's something about hearing the voice of someone you've been connecting with via text, via community discussions, or in this case, Substack articles. And I thought for anyone who cares, I can post a few notes throughout the week. And I'm going to add this as a bonus feature for paid subscribers. As you know, I just launched Singing Through the Shadows, which is a series based on, well, each post is actually a chapter of a book I am writing currently. This is a long-term project. It's probably going to take me, I'm guessing, a year and a half to finish this project, because it starts with an album that I recorded when I was around 22, 23 years old. And the songs were written between the ages of 17 to 20 to 23. And I'm 45 now, for context. And I never released these songs. And I was very proud of them. I was so proud of the musicians I worked with and the recordings. I've listened back now, and I know why I did not release them, because of my own personal hangups and insecurities and fears, which is, I can't possibly go into it right now. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to launch Singing Through the Shadows, because first of all, I wanted to get these songs out there. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about the very things I teach, which is how trauma has a serious impact on one's voice and one's ability to communicate, as well as the physical. I mean, I have some clients who they can't speak like above a whisper, or they become so frozen with fear when asked a question that it's debilitating their success and their relationships. And there's a very real physical impact that trauma has on one's voice. And through my writing with Singing Through the Shadows, I'm sharing about, in the first season, which is based on the album I recorded in my early 20s, it's about my fear and where that started in adolescence, the fear of not being good enough, a lot of self-doubts. But I listen back now as an older person, and I believe that these are good songs. And I want to share them now. In the second season, I will release songs from an album I recorded in my early 30s, which is much, much more polished, much more professional. I recorded these songs at a famous Hollywood studio called East West Studios, recorded in the same studio as the Beach Boys when they recorded Pet Sounds. And on another song, I play a piano from the studio where Elton John recorded. And then in another song, I also played piano in what we call the Frank Sinatra room. It's the big studio for big bands, big enough to fit Frank Sinatra and his orchestra. And that's exactly what I mean. It's a famous studio, and the recordings are incredible. And again, lots of stuff hindered my ability to share these songs. So that's what Singing Through the Shadows is about. And I thought maybe we could do voice notes as a way to complement the paid feature. Obviously, this one is free, and I'll do another one for free too. But anyway, it's Christmas, and that can bring up a lot of feelings. And I find myself trying to stay as busy as possible. And in the moments when I'm not busy and I'm sitting still because I'm too tired to do anything else, I find that feelings that I don't want to feel come up, and it's uncomfortable. And I see in these moments when I'm observing my feelings, I can see how these feelings can easily spiral out of control if you're not prepared for them to happen. Meaning, I knew they were going to come up, and so I was prepared for them. But in past holiday seasons, they have come up and hijacked my nervous system so quickly that I couldn't do anything about it. And this would end up spiraling into panic and all kinds of awful feelings, much more uncomfortable than what I have been feeling in the last 24 hours. And so I guess this season is a little bit better, but it's still uncomfortable. And I know that that's something that a lot of people are going through who would be listening to this note and who read my articles. And so I wanted to share that. And also, I wanted to make a recommendation, since a lot of people take a little bit of time off during this period of time. And I know one of the things that's hard for me actually is time off. I do a lot of work. That's why I post so often. I write a lot of articles. I post a lot of videos. I'm constantly looking for things to do, things to spark my creativity, because for me, it's always been about survival. I've always been like that. And as long as I have something to work on, I'm okay. It's what's hard for me is when nothing is inspiring me. And so I thought, since this is a long weekend for a lot of people took yesterday off, Christmas Eve, taking today off, and then tomorrow, why not? Day after Christmas. And then, of course, there's the weekend. A lot of us are going to want to watch movies or something like that. And so I wanted to recommend a film that I think is so inspiring for somebody who is on this type of journey, this healing voice path. And that film is called The King's Speech. And it came out, over 15 years ago. And I remember when it came out, it was recommended to me by a body worker that I was working with. And I'll tell you a little bit about that experience. In my, how old was I? I was in my late 20s, and I realized that there was a lot of trauma stuck in my body. And this is I had discovered sound healing, and I was new to it. I was still learning about it and how it works, and I was still getting used to the idea of toning and using my voice and really just following other people's instructions, not being certain that it was working or not, even though I felt like it was, but I was still unsure about how to get the trauma out of my body. And I thought, well, I'm a body worker. I understand that body workers experience moments with their clients where a trauma is inadvertently released, and it's really intense, and but it's cathartic at the same time. It's very helpful. And I thought, well, of course I'm going to do that. And so I found a massage therapist. I had worked with him before. I had known many massage therapists, obviously. When you are one, you meet many. And I chose him because I loved his spirit. He had a gentle spirit. He was very good at what he did. And I specifically wanted to work with a man because the I always found it very difficult to be touched, but especially difficult to be touched by a man. It triggered a fear response within me, and I figured the only way I'm going to get through this is if I work with a man I trust. And so I met with him every 3 to 4 weeks for quite a while, and I shared with him what was going on. I just told him I have a lot of fear in my body, and a lot of it is triggered by male touch and male energy. And so I need to work with a man I can trust. And he really took it seriously. He was so awesome. He was just so amazing. And I remember after several sessions together, we started getting to a point where I could talk a little bit about it and I could share with him. And I shared with him how difficult it was for me to use my voice at times and how frustrating this was because I was a singer. I am a singer. I had been one for a long time at this point, and it was sort of my core identity. And that obviously this was debilitating, and I didn't know what to do. And he is the one who suggested that I talk to myself. And in my last video, I shared a practice I call the walk and talk, where you go for a walk and you talk to yourself. And the way you do it without feeling crazy or being perceived as crazy is you hold up your phone as if you're on the phone with somebody. And I do that all the time. And that's because of his suggestion, what he suggested that I do. At first I thought I can't do that. That's crazy. But I tried it and it really worked. And now it's one of my most favorite healing practices. But in that session together, he had recommended a film called The King's Speech. And he told me what it was about, that it was about a former king of England and how he had a stammer or a stutter. He had, and that this was in the era of radio. This was at the beginning of the radio era. And so this was the first time. So amazing, like the coincidence here. You know, you've got, I don't know how many kings had speech impediments before him, but the timing is just so weird that the age of radio would usher in a new king who had a speech impediment. And the whole movie is about his journey to reclaiming his voice and the speech therapist who works with him. It's two stories. It's two very inspiring stories. A king who's expected to carry his country and communicate with them, but he can't, and he's so terrified. A king, imagine it, a king so scared to speak, to use his voice. And the speech therapist is a sort of down on his luck kind of guy, but obviously talented, obviously brilliant, or else he wouldn't have been able to work with the king. And it's one of my favorite films of all time. And when I saw it, I was so grateful to this body worker for helping me, for recommending the film to me, because it was so inspiring. And I'm getting emotional thinking about it, because just think about it. You're the king, and you're expected to present yourself as articulate and perfect and confident all the time. But the thought of being in front of a microphone is so terrifying that nothing even comes out of your voice. Imagine the humiliation. Imagine the feeling. But it's an inspiring film, so I'm not going to tell you what happens, but you can imagine. So I recommend, when you are sitting around needing something to do, something to take your mind off of the things that come up, watch something inspiring like The King's Speech. And if you've seen it, leave a comment here, say something about it, or leave a comment about how you're feeling this weekend, about the whole season and what's coming up for you, and what are you doing to take care of yourself. Anyway, I see on the timestamp that I have spoken for 16 minutes, so I'm going to sign off for now, but you can expect more of these voice notes. I enjoy doing this very much. Thank you so much for subscribing and for being a part of this community. I love connecting with you. And Merry Christmas.